13, 2023, was supposed to be just another warm summer evening in Hoover, Alabama, but it would soon mark the beginning of a bizarre and shocking incident that would captivate the nation. The day began with the promise of an ordinary routine. Carlee Russell, a 25-year-old nursing student, was driving home from her job at a day spa when her life, and the lives of countless others, was turned upside down by a story that would unravel in the most unexpected way. Carlee Russell's disappearance quickly captured the public's heart. The story began like many others. A young woman, seemingly just going about her day, vanished without a trace. It wasn't long before a nation gripped with fear and sympathy began to rally behind her. Families, friends, and strangers alike offered prayers, support, and resources, hoping and believing that Carlee's disappearance was just another tragic case of a young woman caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But as the days stretched on, the true story would emerge in a way that no one could have predicted.
July 13, 2023, was supposed to be just another warm summer evening in Hoover, Alabama, but it would soon mark the beginning of a bizarre and shocking incident that would captivate the nation. The day began with the promise of an ordinary routine. Carlee Russell, a 25-year-old nursing student, was driving home from her job at a day spa when her life, and the lives of countless others, was turned upside down by a story that would unravel in the most unexpected way. Carlee Russell's disappearance quickly captured the public's heart. The story began like many others. A young woman, seemingly just going about her day, vanished without a trace. It wasn't long before a nation gripped with fear and sympathy began to rally behind her. Families, friends, and strangers alike offered prayers, support, and resources, hoping and believing that Carlee's disappearance was just another tragic case of a young woman caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But as the days stretched on, the true story would emerge in a way that no one could have predicted. The disappearance. It all started with a call. At 9:34 p.m. on July 13, 2023, Carlee Russell made a frantic 911 call from her car. She told the dispatcher that she had seen a toddler walking alone along the side of Interstate 459, near the Birmingham-Hoover area. Her voice was trembling, and there was a sense of urgency in her words. She said she had stopped to help the child, who appeared to be no older than 3, when, suddenly, everything went wrong. Her call was interrupted as she claimed someone had approached her vehicle. The dispatcher heard Carlee say, "Oh my God," followed by a muffled noise, and then the call abruptly ended. A hushed silence descended on Hoover. The dispatcher, alarmed and uncertain, immediately called back. There was no answer. Within minutes, the police were on their way. The story was unfolding like something out of a nightmare. A child abandoned on the side of the highway, and a woman who had stopped to help, now seemingly in danger. The fear that this could be something more than a simple accident, the possibility of a kidnapping, or worse, swept over the authorities. A search began almost immediately. The police closed down lanes on the busy interstate, combed through the area around where Carlee's phone had pinged, and sent out an alert for the missing toddler. There were no other reports of a missing child, and no one could confirm that the child Carlee had described had ever been seen. The news quickly spread, and the community began to rally behind Carlee. The next few hours saw the streets of Hoover lit up with flashing lights as the investigation intensified. Local and state authorities searched far and wide, while Carlee's family and friends posted emotional pleas on social media. People across the country watched with bated breath, praying for her safe return. The uncertainty loomed large. Was she abducted? Was the child real? What had happened? As the search continued overnight, the question remained unanswered, and the public's sympathy turned to fear. The investigation. What followed was a media frenzy that would soon devolve into a national mystery. What had started as a heartfelt plea for help began to unravel as a strange and unsettling series of inconsistencies started to surface. The initial reports of Carlee's disappearance painted a picture of a young woman simply trying to help a child in distress. As the investigation progressed, however, the story began to fall apart under the weight of the mounting evidence. Authorities began to scrutinize every detail of the 911 call. The toddler Carlee had described was nowhere to be found. No one had reported a missing child in the area, and there was no surveillance footage showing the child on the side of the highway. The absence of any physical evidence, no clothing, no items left behind, nothing, raised more questions than answers. But the most alarming clue came when the police accessed Carlee's phone records. They revealed a chilling fact. After her call ended, Carlee's phone had been moved by someone. The phone wasn't just discarded on the side of the road, as one might expect if she had been kidnapped. It had been placed down, and the area around it seemed strangely untouched. It was as though she had planned for the phone to be found. But what exactly had happened? As investigators dug deeper, the inconsistencies in Carlee's story began to multiply. For one, the child she had described was never reported by anyone in the area. There were no sightings of a missing toddler along that stretch of highway. No one had seen the child before or after Carlee's call. In fact, there had been no sign of the child at all. As the investigation continued, the authorities began to focus on Carlee herself. She had been missing for 48 hours, but no one had been able to locate her. Then, 2 days later, the unimaginable happened. Carlee was found. She was discovered walking along a highway near her home, disoriented but physically unharmed. Her return should have been a moment of relief, but it was anything but. As the police tried to piece together her whereabouts and what had happened during those 48 hours, Carlee's story began to fall apart. The inconsistencies were glaring, and the truth seemed just beyond reach. The revelation. The shocking truth hit the world like a thunderclap. Carlee Russell's kidnapping story had been a complete hoax. In the following days, Carlee was questioned extensively, and as the pressure mounted, she admitted that the entire story had been fabricated. The child, the kidnapping, the dramatic 911 call, it was all a lie. There had been no toddler. There had been no abductor. Carlee had staged the entire incident, and the events that followed had been part of an elaborate ruse. The revelation sent shockwaves through the public. The entire nation had rallied behind Carlee, sympathizing with her and hoping for her safe return. But now, the truth painted a far darker picture. A woman had orchestrated her own disappearance, generating false hopes and stoking public fear for her own reasons. Carlee's fabricated story had captured the nation's attention, but now, the aftermath of her actions would be far more far-reaching than anyone could have imagined. The consequences of Carlee's actions were swift and severe. The hoax not only shattered the trust of the community but also had a devastating impact on the resources that had been spent during the search. Thousands of man-hours had been dedicated to finding Carlee, and police resources had been diverted from other critical cases. The public's trust in future kidnapping cases would be permanently damaged. Carlee faced not only social backlash but also legal consequences. False reporting, filing a false police report, and wasting police resources were all criminal offenses. As the state of Alabama processed the full scope of her hoax, Carlee's future seemed uncertain, and her personal reputation was shattered. The aftermath. The social media storm that followed Carlee's hoax was one of fury and disbelief. People felt betrayed by the woman who had played on their emotions, manipulated the trust of her community, and caused untold harm in the process. Carlee Russell's hoax had become a national news story. People across the country felt angered by the deceit, and many questioned what would compel someone to fabricate such an elaborate story. The impact was not just limited to Carlee herself. It reached far beyond her and left a lasting scar on society's response to future cases of genuine kidnapping. For the families of real kidnapping victims, the Carlee Russell case was a betrayal. It made their struggles more difficult. How would people react to future cases of missing children, missing women, and abductions? Would the public's fear be met with skepticism and doubt the next time someone went missing? Would the resources available to genuine cases of abduction be cut short because of the backlash from this hoax? The case also sparked a larger conversation about the lengths people will go to for attention, especially in an age where social media amplifies everything. Carlee's actions weren't just a lie, they were an attempt to gain sympathy, attention, and, most disturbingly, sympathy from an audience that had no reason to doubt her. The Carlee Russell hoax will be remembered as a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of how far some people will go to fabricate a narrative for personal gain. In the end, Carlee Russell's hoax changed the narrative around real and fabricated crimes in a profound way. The fallout from her deception served as a painful reminder of the importance of accountability and the dangers of lying for attention. For the public, the case reinforced a bitter truth. Sometimes, even the most compelling stories can turn out to be nothing more than smoke and mirrors. As we reflect on Carlee Russell's actions, we are left with one final question. How many other people might be hiding behind their own stories, their own lies, waiting for the world to believe in their fabrications? And when we can't trust what we see, who can we really trust anymore? This definitely is not the end of this case. Thanks for watching and listening. Please share this channel to your friends who may like our contents. Like and subscribe for more true life crime stories. Thank you. See you in the next story.
We're back with some breaking news. A woman who made national headlines for faking her own kidnapping in Alabama has just pleaded guilty after pleading not guilty last fall.
Yeah, you may remember her name, Carlee Russell. She was back in court today. Russell disappeared for 2 days after claiming to see a toddler on the highway last year in Alabama. She later admitted the whole story was a hoax. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton is following this for us. Antonia, it has been a while since we've talked about this case. Can you remind our viewers about how we got here and what did Russell say in court today?
That's right. Well, this all started on July 13th. Carlee Russell called 911, and she told authorities that she had seen this toddler walking along the highway near Birmingham. And then she reappeared 2 days later, claiming that she had been kidnapped and taken in a vehicle. It led to an outcry, complete panic, people searching for her. But very quickly, her story, it fell apart. And it became clear that she had falsely reported this crime. Today in court, she stood up, and it was an emotional day. She, had reversed previously, pled not guilty, but today acknowledging her guilt and saying that she was sorry to her community, her church, her family, and of course to the people who spent time and resources looking for her. If you're wondering, though, she's not going to spend time behind bars. The judge felt that that wasn't a good use of resources. Instead, she's going to have to pay restitution, about $17,000, and do about 100 hours of community service while under probation. The next question really is, what does this case still mean for trust and potential impact to other victims, real victims of crimes like this one? And right now, we see that Alabama lawmakers are working on a bill that would raise the stakes here, raise the penalties for anyone who ever tried to do something like this again, guys.
Antonia Hilton, thank you so much, Antonia.